What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we have some pretty awesome Destiny 2 Warmind stuff to talk about. So firstly, we have a new developer insights video from Bungie where they show us some Mars gameplay. They talk about escalation protocol, they talk about the location in general. We get a look at some gear and some very interesting enemies coming in this expansion. So I'm going to break all of that stuff down. I also have some other stuff about power level drops, raid loot, exotics, and the May update, so let's jump straight into it. So firstly, like I said, Bungie have posted a developer insights video about Mars and the escalation protocol, some of the activities. We get a look at some really cool enemies and gear. On top of this, we get a better look at some of the stuff we can expect to see inside of that Warmind bunker, so check this out.
Warmind is the start of the new conversation. It's a step forward in the direction we want to start taking Destiny.
We want content that brings us back and makes us want to play more. And so we knew that campaign was something that we needed to have nice and tight, but it was the new activities that we added to the destination that was much more important.
And we wanted to add pursuits in the destination, new gear sets and chasing after Seraph-themed weapons and gear. So we want players to feel like they're grinding with purpose, as I call it, focused on I know what I'm going for, I want to get it, and I'm going to keep playing. It's kind of similar to what we just had with the DFA and the Nightfall. And we want that same feeling of I know that Seraph sniper rifle's behind there.
Yes.
I'm keep grinding against this thing to get that gun.
Absolutely. There's going to be lore attached to all of these discoverables that are digging into that Warmind, Clovis Bray, Anna Bray relationship. You explore the glaciers, you're in the Clovis Bray facility. Yeah, and the Warmind is, sitting up high, but then, have activities that run you through the tunnels that the Hive have dug out, and you come out into Hellas Basin, and then you see the skybox, you see the Rasputin pyramid, and it's just such an evocative thing of I want to find out what is there. Diversity inside of this destination is out of control. Yeah, huge scalloped walls of ice, but then big open expanses when you're on the top of the surface. There's a really cool dichotomy between all the spaces. Well, one of the things that we wanted to do was bring back the big boss fight, and so we built the destination in a way that teases and ramps up to that big fight. Destination always had in mind the Worm God and this whole it started with Rasputin, and then I think the next step after that was who are we fighting? Formidable foe. Formidable foe, yeah. Yep. And Vivi definitely is all about the big bosses. And really wanted to bring a big boss in, and no matter how crazy you thought we were. It was the marriage of these two and making them coexist in a cohesive manner. Another thing that came out from the playtest was the new relic we're actually putting in. You get the opportunity to actually wield a weapon of Rasputin's own design. And it's this javelin we call the Valkyrie that is a really deadly long-range weapon, but yet it's super powerful if you decide to use it in melee up front. So we have all new campaigns to start out with. We've added new adventures, new quests, new exotics for players to find, and we have the new escalation protocol activity that we're adding. So we're encouraging players to stick around, play the destination, explore it, uncover secrets, and learn more about Rasputin and the Bray family.
So to break down some of what we see inside of this video, of course, firstly, we see Nokris. This is inside of one of the new strikes. And of course, Nokris as an enemy is kind of a big deal, so a lot of people are speculating what is going to happen inside of this strike or in this part of the story. I guess we'll have to find out. But of course, on top of this, we also see that Soros regime once again there. And it looks like it's firing pretty fast, both ADS and hipfire, so we'll have to see exactly what the perks are like, which version of the Soros this will be. But then we see Mars, some of the new enemies in the escalation protocol, and some of the gear, the kind of Warmind themed stuff we've seen a lot already. And then we actually see inside of one of these kind of Warmind bunkers here, and there's a lot of Hive. I believe this is inside of one of the strikes or story missions. But the area here looks pretty cool in general. They show us some new scannables and stuff that we'll be able to find on Mars. Of course, they're saying there will be a lot of secret stuff. We've seen a lot of things hidden on the map, and it looks like collectibles will generally be much more present in this expansion. But we see more of the areas of Mars and general scenery, a lot of different types of stuff, which is pretty cool. We also see one of the new ship models there. But what we see next is very interesting. We can see what appears to be a giant worm here on Mars. And so chances are, I guess, that this is the worm god of Zol, which is very, very interesting. There's a lot of very huge story stuff. Of course, this is the first time we've seen a worm god in game. I think it's pretty safe to assume that's what we're seeing right there. Let me know what you guys think about that. The story is going to be very interesting. But we see more cool interior kind of Warmind bunker spaces. Right here as well, we can see some pretty interesting armor. Very kind of Star Warsy right there. Something interesting to point out is that we see what looks like the Anabray auto rifle we've spoken about a lot already. And this is on the hunter's back right there. And this is the kind of creamy white version of the weapon that I've spoken about before. But in one of the follow-up shots, we see the Titan also with the weapon on their back, but it's actually the other way round on their back, which is pretty interesting. This is also the black and kind of red or brown model of the weapon. I've got no idea whether weapons actually stow differently on the back, kind of visually, dependent on whichever weapons you have equipped, but I think that's pretty curious either way. But we get plenty more gameplay inside of this bunker. This one's called Mind Lab Rasputin, which is pretty interesting. It's actually described as a restricted zone. Of course, we can see the Valkyrie weapon right there. They described it as a weapon forged by Rasputin. So definitely a very interesting look at Mars. It looks like there will be quite a few kind of hidden areas underground and in caves. Also, there could be areas that you kind of visit in story missions and things like that. It's interesting to get a look inside of the kind of big Warmind bunker. I guess we'll find out exactly what other things it'll be used for outside of missions and strikes. But a lot of really cool stuff if you ask me, guys. Let me know what you think down below. Moving on though, we have a couple of bits of clarification about some things in the DLC. So Daniel, one of the progression designers at Bungie, gave some clarification about the light level of drops and where different level drops will actually come from. So he said that turning in tokens can get you up to 340. 340 is of course the soft cap. But then he said normal raids and nightfalls will still progress you all the way up to 380, but the upgrades they drop after 370 are smaller than 340 to 370. And then of course 380 and 385 with mods will be the max level inside of this expansion. So basically any tokens that you have, things like that stuff can help you get up to 340 or the soft cap, which should be relatively easy to achieve. But as some clarification about the older raids, their base levels won't actually be increasing in terms of difficulty. And previously we didn't know if the light level of the gear drops would actually increase with the expansion. But Daniel also said yes, the old raids will have their drops buffed to help you get to 380 by running them. So you'll be able to do the older raids at the level that they currently are and actually get higher level drops, which is definitely going to be useful. And obviously things like raids, nightfalls, trials, all of the milestone engrams, and your powerful drops in general are going to be the ways that you actually get to 380 and then 385 with all of the mods applied. And Bungie have already said that players which do all of the types of content in the game are going to be able to hit that level quickly. So if you do play, PvP, if you do all of your milestones, if you play raids and nightfalls as well, and you're completing the older versions of that stuff and getting all of the potential drops each week, then there are going to be a ton of sources to actually get relatively powerful gear. But from what Bungie are saying, it is still going to take a good few weeks even for the hardcore players. But Bungie have also given some clarification on their website about what comes with the DLC and what comes with the May update. Of course, the DLC is paid content, that's the Warmind expansion, and then the May update has a series of features which are coming to the game. So on the page they show us, of course, the new story, the campaign for the Warmind DLC, the new cooperative endgame activity, the escalation protocol, which of course is on Mars, also a DLC area. And then there is the new raid lair, and they still have some other things they want to reveal. But season 3 will actually come with new Crucible maps, so they made a change to make all of the DLC maps actually available for everybody in public playlists. And then of course there are the exotic weapon reworks and exotic catalysts. And then we've got Crucible rankings. This doesn't actually require the DLC. Like I said, those PvP maps and then private matches. So there is a differentiation between the expansion and the free update, but of course they do come alongside each other. An interesting thing to point out about some of the exotic buffs, of course, we've seen quite a few of them, and the image right here that Bungie show us actually seems to have all of the exotics that are seeing some kind of rework. This isn't every exotic that's going to see a change or every exotic that will have a masterwork version, but these are the ones that are having the more significant reworks in this update. And so of course there is things like Sunshot, which we're going to see pretty soon, and also the Prospector there, the grenade launcher as well, which is another one we haven't really heard about. So we'll have to wait for more details on those, but it looks like that is the full set of weapons that'll be seeing major reworks in this update. One final thing before I finish, on Tuesday there will be maintenance for Destiny 2. Of course, this will be immediately before Warmind and update 1.2 actually go live. So at 6 AM Pacific, which is 2 PM here in the UK, server maintenance will begin. Any folks who are in activities will get kicked out at 7 AM Pacific Pacific, so an hour later, and then at 11 a.m. Pacific, the maintenance is scheduled to conclude. The hotfix will be available to download and install, and this presumably will be the launch time for Warmind. So that's 11 a.m. Pacific and then 7 p.m. here in the UK. That's when the servers will come back online. So just worth bearing in mind the downtime and the launch time right there. But anyway, guys, that is going to summarize the video. Lots of interesting and exciting stuff as always, and let me know your thoughts on any of it down below. If you have enjoyed the video, a like is very much appreciated. Check out my sponsor Into the AM. They have some awesome clothing, really cool shirts, hoodies, hats, bandanas, and they've even got a lineup of some pretty cool God of War stuff that they've just launched as well. So if any of that sounds interesting, check it out in the link below. You can save 10% at checkout if you use code Houndish. But anyway, guys, if you are new to the channel, also be sure to hit subscribe to see a hell of a lot more Destiny 2 content, especially going into Warmind. I will be covering pretty much everything here on the channel. I appreciate you watching as always as well. I will catch you guys very soon.